Okay, and we're back, ready to start the final set for Training Grounds today.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So we're going to have MangoMel and Roadrunner playing now. MangoMel, very familiar with Roadrunner. I've not seen any of his games yet. Don't quite know how he plays.
No, neither. Both these players are people I'm not particularly familiar with when it comes to like play style. I mean, there is the classic meme of Knights and Send It from Mel, but
Yes.
that's pretty much the only depth I have on each of the play styles.
And to be fair, that's pretty good description.
Yep.
She does it a lot, but she does it well. So
That's the key
I think
bit.
we are ready to get into the draft. So first, we're starting with a map ban from both of them.
Oh, fantastic. Go on the screen here.
Yeah. So we've got a ban of Nomad from Roadrunner, and then a ban of LAN Madness from Mel, which does seem interesting given
Yes.
the thing we think she does like the Scout into Night play.
I was just thinking and about to say the same thing, but now I'm wondering maybe she likes being walled more than she likes going Knights.
Yeah. Okay. Then we move into map pick from both. So picking their own map, we've got Arabia for Roadrunner and a Neon pick for Mel.
Ah, interesting. And like we were just saying before the stream started, Neom, I think, is a very mobility-based map, and that definitely would suit Mel's playstyle. She likes to play cavalry and horses and all that, so I can see that being a really solid home map choice.
Yeah.
And then the home map choice of Arabia for Roadrunner.
Yeah. So fairly standard. It is the most played map in Age of Empires. Most people know how to play it. Most people will be comfortable. So.
And that kind of comes with its own caveats when you pick it as a home map, because home maps are ideally, in the perfect world, maps that you are brilliant on and the other person is maybe not as familiar with. But when you pick Arabia as a home map, you kind of sacrifice that a little bit, because like you say, everyone plays Arabia.
So you're kind of saying, I think I'm better in this standard.
Yeah.
Which
it's quite a
confident
quite
play.
a statement.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick this, I'm going to do it better than you.
Okay, so now we just ban to get to the first map that they will play. So Golden Swamp and Morass banned.
That's a shame. I quite wanted to see Morass, because that is not only a fantastic name, but also the action is on, like from minute 8 or 9, from right at the start of Feudal Age. I mean, like really quick builds, really fast-paced aggression at the start,
and they've all been really entertaining games as well.
Yep. And then, so is that Hideout for our
Hideout as
map?
our first map, yeah.
Interesting.
So something a little different from both of their home maps. Closed off.
Yes.
Bit of a slower start. Well, I mean, but we also see a Carl doing 15 pop scouts earlier on Hideout.
Yeah, did we see that? I must have missed that. That's quite intense.
So maybe not quite as slow as we thought Hideout is.
We didn't mention the Nomad home pick from Roadrunner. That is interesting as well.
That was the first ban.
Oh, that's the first ban.
First ban.
See, I'm clueless. Arabia. So what are our maps? Arabia, Neom, and Hideout for the first one. Perfect.
Yeah. So just giving the players a little bit of time to prep their civs, what they want to pick where.
And that's one civ ban, isn't it?
One civ ban each. They pick 2. They get to snipe a civ each, and then they've got 2 more picks.
Okay, sniping a civ is interesting as well, because with a map pool like this, well, not even a map pool, with these maps that have been picked as well, you would be quite scared of civs, like the classic castle drop civs being quite dominant. But if you've got a ban each and a snipe, then I would be surprised if it saw the powerful civs like Spanish, Turks, and like even Koreans for Nomad being played. But we'll see.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's interesting because you're a very good player, and so you have your insight of like how this is how we should be played. But we have to remember this is a little bit lower. These are still good players, but they're going to be playing more into what they feel comfortable doing rather than necessarily what is the optimal play in this situation.
Yep. So is that the first ban?
This will be the first ban.
From Roadrunner, that's Malay?
Malay.
That is interesting.
Okay. So Mel on Hideout has gone for Malay elephants.
Is it a reputation?
There's a little bit of reputation. A few people have done it.
She looks a little bit disappointed as well. I think plan has been scuppered already.
Ethiopians is banned for Mel.
That's interesting. Maybe. Do we know how much each player knows about each other's playstyle as well? Because
I mean, so I spoke a bit to Mel earlier. She said that she had seen a bit of Ethiopians played, so could be well, I've seen this, I'm going to try and snipe that away from him.
That makes sense as well, especially at this level. A Civ that gets, the faster firing archers better against, everything, not just Cav.
Yeah.
If Cav is your main playstyle, but it's also the free pikeman upgrade that comes with Ethiopians when you hit Castle Age.
Yeah.
And that might be something that's quite scary to a Cav-based player.
So first picks from both, we've got Magyars for Roadrunner, and then Berbers and Poles for Mel.
Okay, interesting. Trying to work out what Civ will see where. I reckon it will be Berbers for Neon would probably make sense, and Poles for Hideout perhaps, and then Magyars on Arabia maybe, but that's not Archer based, so maybe that's just his next most comfortable Civ from the Ethiopians.
Yeah. Okay.
Japanese.
Interesting. Not quite sure where we'd see them. I mean, they're fairly versatile, can go in a lot of different places. We've seen them prioritised a lot because of Morass being in the map pool, but not having that as a map we're playing here. Not quite as sure where we'll see them.
Something I just missed as well, which might seem quite obvious now, is that I imagine Mongols will be for Neom for maybe that middle control.
Could be.
Because that would seem very tempting when you've got a Civ like Mongols. And the same goes for Japanese as well, with the cheaper mills.
I mean, if people watching don't know, Neom is a new map made for this tourney, made by Vinny, who was also playing in it. He was casting earlier. It's very open, with a bit of berries and hunt in the middle of it. But then as you go outside, it's more desert area, very few trees, and a bit of gold scattered around the desert as well.
So most of that gold is scattered around the outside. So that's why I was saying earlier on that it really is a mobility-based map, because you'll be swinging from either side to either side of the map, and if you're a Civ that kind of lacks mobility, you might be caught out more often than not. So that's probably why it's more of a Cav-based map, in my opinion.
Okay. So we've had snipes. So Japanese sniped by Mel for Roadrunner, and Berber sniped.
I wonder if the Japanese snipe is because of the Japanese pikes, maybe?
Could be, yeah. They're very scary.
Yes, they are.
They attack pretty quick.
Yeah, quickest in the game.
Lots of pokes. Okay, Franks for Mel. I mean, it's a classic.
Classic.
You want to go night scouts, you want to go knights. Yeah.
It's quite a diverse set of Civs, actually. Oh,
Spanish?
Just to say that there is Spanish. That's not a Civ you want to be playing against on 2 out of 3 of these maps, I would say.
Okay, interesting.
But like, the thing is with Neom, sometimes those wood lines spawn in a very square fashion, so the walling can be somewhat easy. So if you can get a FC off on that map, you could probably maybe squeeze your way into Kongs, but I imagine the obvious choice is
the thing to remember though is that there's no stone to mine on Neom.
That is something that completely I've totally forgotten about. You're right. Yeah, so that's obviously for hideout then, I guess.
Yes, yeah, makes sense. Okay, and then last picks are Huns and Malians, it looks like.
Huns and Malians.
Yeah. So they're just, I mean, Malians, very versatile. We've seen a lot of play recently since the buff to their gold collection. And Huns are a classic.
Yep. Yeah, I can't go wrong with Huns. A great choice for Arabia, of course. Great choice for Neom, of course. Definitely covering his bases there, I think, especially when the obvious choice on the hideout is probably going to be Spanish, I imagine.
Yeah. I wouldn't be too surprised to see Mongols on hideout as well. They've got a very strong late game if that's how you see it as a map play out.
Perhaps, yeah.
But then also, Mongols have such a good fast start on a lot of maps as well.
Yeah, I personally, I mean, I'm not sure about the level difference maybe, but I would imagine that Mongols would be more on the open maps like Arabia and Neom, because, like you say, when you hitting 17 pop timings like that. It's kind of wasted on hideout maybe, unless you're doing some kind of fast man-at-arms or something. But I mean, maybe he's got some very tight builds that he's going to impress us with.
Maybe. I think the Civ that seems to be one that we might start seeing more and more in these situations is the Goths.
Yes.
They're always loved by, all levels just for the spam that you get to. But until recently, they just had such a slow start that we didn't see them realistically. But with this new bonus,
they are very, very scary now. I really do love Goths. I think the hunt bonus that's been added that you just mentioned has really opened the door for them on a lot of maps. Like a lot of maps where you'd see, your classic Mongols, Japanese, just like the early aggression maps where you're fighting over hunts in the middle. I think they've really got potential on those maps now, and I really hope we see them.
Yeah. Great. So now we're just waiting for everyone to get set up. They'll have a bit of time now. They can make their plan, what they're going to play where, set the lobby up. So.
Brilliant. So let's talk about the first map, Hideout, then.
Yes.
So recently, I feel like the meta has been shifting towards like a quicker man-at-arms type play. Like I see like 19, 20 pop man-at-arms quite often, and Roadrunner does have a few. Actually, no, I definitely prefer Mel Civs for Hideout if we are thinking about a quick man-at-arms play. But I feel like at this level, maybe the comfortable thing to do would be to just get the FC out and take it from there.
And there are a few Civs. I mean, Mel, it looks like have Civs that would be good at doing both. Like Poles and Goths, early man-at-arms, Poles adding the towers in, collecting gold at the same time. Seem like they'd be very good for that. But then also, if you just FC with Poles, they've got insane eco. So
yes, I personally, I'd imagine we would see Poles on Hideout here, and I think that'd be a great choice as well because, like you say, like whatever they do, they just do exceptionally well. They're just not broken, but they are just very, very good on closed maps. But either option they do, like you say, the man-at-arms towers, they just have so many overlapping bonuses for that it just makes sense, and then their boom makes sense because of the incredible farms and in the closed environment as well. So
yeah. And then for Roadrunner, you were mentioning Spanish as a solid option for the hideout.
Well, I mean, everyone knows what Spanish do, don't you? You just you get up to Castle Age, you drop the castle down, and then suddenly you have access to the most powerful castle unit in the game. Maybe neck and neck with Turks, but now Turks have had the Janny nerf from 87 range. I think I'd argue that Spanish are probably a little bit better now. On maps you can run around anyway. So
and it's very easy to see Hideout as a closed map, and it often is because you've got the walls, but once it starts expanding beyond that, there's a lot of space to move around into. Yeah,
100%. I mean, it's one of those maps, if you let yourself get trapped into your base, it's just a very slow and painful loss, basically, because you end up, stacking wood up because you can't place farms because you've got no space, and your uptime's probably going to be worse because you've got less farms, and it's just a downward spiral, really. So taking, it definitely gives you a false sense of security, the palisade walls, but I think that's another reason why the man-at-arms meta is kind of arising a little bit on that map, because people are realizing actually it is just palisade walls and you can kind of just do what you want.
It doesn't take much to break through them.
No, it doesn't, especially the gates. The gates are especially squishy.
Gates, and
when you've got a tower behind.
Back it up with the tower or a couple arches and suddenly they can't walk behind it as easily. It opens the map up.
I mean, it's always been like the play to do if you see an enemy walling up earlier on a map like Arabia or something, or like a semi-closed map where you can make easy palisade walls. The play is man-at-arms towers with a few archers behind most of the time, and I don't know, maybe it's just because you're on the opposite side of a big forest that people haven't tended to do that as much in the past, but now, like I was saying, people realise that this is just the thing to do. It makes a lot of sense.
I think there are still sometimes the odd gen where there's got big wood lines that you have to go around, where it can be a bit punished.
I mean, if you look at on the actual picture that you have on the hideout, that would be a really tough one to do man-at-arms towers on, because there's a big fat woodline on the top and a big fat woodline sticking out on the bottom. Yeah. That would be a pain in the butt. And a map like that, you could be a bit greedy for an FC, and it would be harder to get punished for sure.
But yeah, if we, just while we're still waiting, we can start to think about maybe what they might be thinking of for their home maps as well.
Yes.
So, Arabia, I mean, most civs can be played on Arabia in a lot of ways now.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I've got to go off here is the order that they picked them in, right?
Yeah.
So the civs that they just desperately wanted, and they wouldn't let them get, let it go to chance that they don't get them. So I would imagine it would be Magyars for Roadrunner on Arabia, but on the other hand, I feel like Huns in Castle Age do a lot of the things that Magyars do just a lot better.
Yes.
They've got a really nice eco bonus, and even in Feudal, they don't get the free attack, but you do get more scouts quicker because of the stable bonus.
And you don't need to build your houses.
Yep, and that is, I mean, at any level, that is a fantastic bonus. I can't tell you how many times I get housed in a day if I'm playing Age of Empires.
Okay. So here we are starting into game 1 on Hideout. We've got Spanish against Poles, so it seems to make sense what we're thinking. Yeah, who could have guessed that?
And to me, it looks like one of those annoying generations where the deer are outside, or is that every generation? I'm not sure, because I find
sometimes it's inside.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see how each player adapts to that, because the normal thing to do is take a sheep, stick it under your gate so the gate's held open, and then you can lure them in one by one.
You just then have to be careful that you don't let your opponent in.
Yes.
Which has happened a few times.
Yes. And it all starts going downhill because suddenly they know exactly what you're doing, and you're there panicking, chasing their scout around.
And interesting, Roadrunner deciding to go straight out with the scout.
Yeah, that is... No, he is going straight out, and he has no regard for his own deer, and he wants to maybe scout his opponent and see if it's a potential castle drop situation, or maybe he'll want to drop the castle at home if it's too far.
I mean, he could be looking for, how far it is, and looking at what res Mel might have exposed if he wants to bring that castle forward. Mel, using the sheep trick that you're talking about, trying to push the deer in.
Somehow that sheep is holding the gate open. I think he's just sticking his tongue in the way. You can't really see it.
Yeah, I've never seen a sheep there hold a gate open.
That's interesting. But
I will never pretend to understand gates, because they seem to behave in the strangest ways sometimes.
Also, speaking of strange activity, the deer as well. I mean, they're a pain in the bum to lure in the first place. Yes. And when you've got a gate in the way and a load of palisade walls, it's just made even worse. So I do not envy these players trying to... There's a 4 deer as well, because you feel like you're losing if you only do 3. So you've got to get them all in. And you're having a bad time whilst doing it. Yeah.
They're just such a good boost to the early eco, isn't it? It's a fast food source.
It's so meta now that it's really hard to imagine doing builds without deer. Like, pretty much as D came out, I don't know, maybe if it's something to do with the reduced lag, or maybe, I don't know, just general popularity, but it's like basically every Arabian match I play anyway, all 3 deer are lured, and even in this recent patch that has increased the distance of the deer just a little, well, not even a little bit, by quite a significant amount. Every game I've played, all deer are lured, by my opponents. So people are obsessed with it, and I don't know what will have to change for them to not be obsessed. But
so we're just going to see a very slow build-up of the eco, just players setting up for what they're wanting to do later on.
Yes,
No deer ended up getting pushed. There's too much pain.
I wonder if that's a tactical decision, or it's just frustration, or maybe it is a tactical decision to not get frustrated by the deer.
Yes.
And I can't blame them either.
No. I mean...
Although I would like to see them try. It's a good habit to get into, but...
it's only very recently that I started pushing deer if they're outside. Before then I was just it's not worth the effort. I was too lazy.
It's just one of those things that I don't know, because there isn't like instantly obvious how good it is. You're just like, oh, okay, I'll just leave this one. I'll do it next game. Got a very exhilarating scout chase going on.
Yeah,
where Roadrunner's called it off. He's not too bothered.
They've both seem to have found each other now.
Yep.
So know where they are. Yeah. Ooh. Loom on the way from Mel. Oh, she got housed.
Okay. Well, yeah, the pair of them actually.
Yeah.
Did they both get housed? No. Okay, so Roadrunner's gone 20 pop and he's got Loom. I was thinking maybe he was. He's queued up bills again, so I thought maybe he was going to do some man-at-arms or something.
Very nice little new thing for Spanish. He's got 20 gold back after researching Loom.
No excuse to forget about it now.
No.
Yeah, that's one of those bonuses where you're not really sure how much difference it makes, but it's cool to have. It's cool to see the gold jump up when you get any kind of technology, isn't it? But
and like by the end of the game, it adds up, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to like. I mean, how many techs do you get in a game on average? Do you think maybe like that's a tough question.
That's a very tough question. Yeah.
Like, by castle age, I don't know. Late castle age,
you've got eco upgrades.
20?
Yeah, maybe.
But still, that's only. I don't want to do maths.
20 times 20.
Then maybe do it.
I mean, that's. Yeah, 400 gold.
Yeah.
That's not insignificant.
In my defense, I had 400 in my head. I just didn't want to say it in case it was wrong. Promise.
Okay, quick scout fight. Does anyone have the hill there?
It looks like Mel should have the hill, but the way the scout's HP is going down, okay, it looks relatively even, but Mel's coming off just a little bit worse than that. And it's probably nice reassurance for Roadrunner to see that his opponent also hasn't pushed here.
Yeah.
Makes him feel like less of a, less like he's half-assing it.
I mean, but Roadrunner onto stone now, looking like it's building towards that castle.
Yep, and as is Mel as well.
But this could be trying to take advantage of Poles gathering gold as they take stone.
Yes.
Because she's not on gold herself. But
that's a good point.
Yeah.
However, if that is the case, then I would like to see a few more vills on gold because the rate really isn't that quick for gold. I think. He's long distancing the deer. That is interesting. Yeah. I think it's a lot more efficient, obviously, to push it to TC, but or maybe even build a mill out there because it's just a little bit too far for me to be long distancing.
But free food is free food.
Yep, you can't shake your head at free feed.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm really curious to see because for Mel, it's probably quite obvious what's going to happen. That's one of them.
Could she try and make like stable as one of her buildings, make some scouts to try and deny a forward?
That would be perfect because not only does that deny the forward, if the castle ends up not being the forward, she can also use the scouts for relic control later on if that's something she's thinking about. So just camp a scout on a relic or two near the Spanish player's base.
This is a very impressive uptime from Spanish of wanting to build a castle as well.
Yeah, 20. I think you can squeeze out 26 plus 2, but I would only say you could do that with 4 deer, I think, or 3 deer probably.
Okay.
That have been lowered to TC. I don't think. I'd be impressed if you can do it without market abuse at this point.
So that's a stable blacksmith from Mel. So
that's
like
smart.
Scouts are on the way out. And, I mean, Pole's eco should be very comfortable getting up. She made 4 farms around that full work. Just really boosts the food eco quite a bit.
Quite a ridiculous amount, actually. Yeah. It's a very... Again, we won't use the word OP, but it's a very strong thing. And I also love how, like, much of it just complements everything that Poles do.
Yeah.
It's a really good part of their civ identity. Just want to mention here that I would have expected probably stable and a market. So Mel would have been able to sell 100 stone, and then she would have had the gold to click up. But because it's stable blacksmith,
now she's trying to rush up a market.
Goes.
But then
I think she might have the gold by that time.
Yeah.
But can't say no to market, and as long as she doesn't idle her TC too much, I think, like even if it is a little mistake, if your TC isn't idle at the end of the day, like it's not too bad. Like you can, it's not an issue.
I think this is a part of just like not quite as comfortable in this style of map. Doesn't play the closed maps as much. Not quite as familiar with what you need to go for. Like if you're wanting to make some scouts and like have for this kind of a build, needing the market just to try and balance again. Like a lot of people think, well, it's cheaper to make the stable blacksmith. So
yes, yeah, but when it's like when it's like a crucial part of the build to actually click in time.
Yep.
But either way, both going up at a pretty similar time. I think it's...
There's a minute ahead for Roadrunner. Okay. But where's the castle going to come?
Yeah, and I thought that was a forward house from Yellow then, and I got a little bit scared for Mel because that would be right on her face on both stones. But I think he's going to play it safe with the castle at home, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, we'd probably already expect to see the Vils coming forward.
Yes, at this point. Actually, especially at this point, I had to squint there, but yeah, it's only 20 seconds left to castle age, so he'll probably put that right by his stone.
But even from home, conks chew through palisades, they can get in really quickly.
And I am a little bit worried for Mel because the first few conks, well, I mean, I say first few conks, but any amount of conks is hard to stop when you've only got
a stable. Forward now.
Okay, so
interesting.
What I would have, I'm assuming since the castle hasn't been placed down inside his base, I think what we would have both liked to see is those Vils maybe coming out of his base about a minute and a half before he hits castle age, say like 40%, 50%, making their way around, and then
just as you reach castle age, it plonks down
it's
on
right
their face. Yeah.
That extra shock factor and defensive castle for Mel, right on her stones, and this might be a bit of a shock for Roadrunner as he comes up, unless I think he might have scouted the castle. So that means
so there's a scout next to the castle. He's seen that.
He's scouted that. So that means he's going to send his Vils all the way around, not just around, all the way around. They are hugging the edge of the map, and I'm not sure where they're going to end up.
Really wants to deny those deer.
Do you reckon that's where it's going to be? Maybe that's where his scout is.
I mean, denying an extra gold.
Like you said, you can't say no to free feed. I mean,
and if we look at how Mel has set up her base, it's walling as if to protect that front side.
Yes.
And that castle at the side could really expose a lot of how she set herself up.
Like you say, it's right on top of her second guard, and it's also right next to her forework. And there's nothing more annoying when you're playing poles than people not letting you make your pretty farms around your forework. So.
Yeah. Okay, castle up from Mel. So will she make any Obuk, or will this be...
I would be shocked, but I would also welcome it.
It would be great fun. Or is this going to just be a bit of a build-up, trying to get Schlack to just get those cheap knights?
Yes, that's what I was going to ask you. What is the plan now? Because you can't see the castle. Maybe you're assuming he's already built it at home.
Yeah. And they're just on the top of that hill.
Exactly like you said.
Yeah. Mel the deer after.
It's got to be the play, surely. But she will see that as soon as it goes down. And this is where... she's making some knights already. So
she does
I wonder
see
if
it.
this is in preparation. If she sees this in time and Roadrunner's quick warning skills are not up to scratch, he is going to have a problem.
Okay, knights on the move, but it seems to be heading forward. And only 4 Vils. They are Spanish Vils. They do build quicker, but it seems like it could really be punished if Mel notices.
I think this might be a lack of noticing here from Mel, because I'm sure she would have sent that knight as soon as possible. And you can see from her camera there on the bottom left that she isn't really looking around there. So I have a feeling she might not have noticed it, and she has sent the knight all the way to his base. So
trying to get forward. And, well, I mean, it could get a lot done if Roadrunner's focusing at this forward point, trying to get damage with conks. Knights could break it. Now she spots the castle with a scout.
Now, is that auto scout, or is that I'm scouting for the castle scout? That's the question.
Might be an auto scout.
But either way, the castle's up now, and this is a real pickle now for Mel. If she...
So she should definitely notice now. She'll have got a notification when it attacks that house.
Definitely.
So what happens with those knights? Does she drag them back home, or does she carry on committing forward? Because I wouldn't necessarily mind if she just kept going forward with them. Try and break in.
Neither. So you've got to remember, with aggression like this, like you say, like it does leave you exposed at home.
Yeah.
And at the right time with the right distraction, you could really do some damage. Like I was saying, the Palisade gates, they melt.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of melee armor, and your knights aren't really going to do much in your base when there's conks running around, because they can just hit and run forever, and that's what makes them one of the best units in Castle Age there is. So.
I really like the monastery response from Mel.
Yes.
It's the kind of thing that I always forget to do when I see conks, but they, like, removing one of them, they're so powerful by themselves that it can really swing things the right way.
There's nothing more annoying when you're making conks as well than being raided by your own conks that you made 5 minutes ago.
Okay.
It's like we were saying, the knights hit down the palisade wall, and I think there might be some quick walls from there from Roadrunner back in the zone base. Meanwhile, Conk almost getting converted by this monk.
She repulls it back though, doesn't want to get it stretched out too far.
No, you really don't want
to. Roadrunner has noticed the knight forward though, so getting walls up, has a monastery at home as well.
Yep.
But one thing we haven't mentioned, Mel 2 TC,
yes.
Drop more full works, drop more farms. So she's looking to try and get a good eco here.
This is a little bit rough for Mel with the conks on the farms. I wonder if we could have maybe squeezed in a TC by that gold before they came in, like a panic TC, to maybe delete a couple of farms and put it next to the forwalk and the gold, but
maybe.
We've got a conversion there, which is very handy, and both monasteries now pumping out monks, so situation might be under control, and this is what we mentioned earlier. Yeah.
A knight in, just move it away from the TC, hit that wood line.
Smart, really smart. You don't want to waste it under the TC.
And just a single knight is a massive threat to Vils like that.
Yeah, Vils going to do 1 damage a hit because of that 2 melee armor, so you don't want to fight it with Vils. You either run the whole wood line or you lose the wood line pretty much, or you just smack it down like he's doing now.
I mean, the other possibility, of course, being fast imp supremacy.
Oh, of course. The castle's down, you want TC, it's the obvious choice.
Yeah.
And scouts being added, or is that his starting scout?
That was starting scout.
I'm being dramatic, it's just a starting scout.
Yeah.
And some good conversions here.
Seemed to good defense from Mel. Like, she's lost some Vils, but she's 2 TC versus 1, and she's pushing the conks away.
Yes. It's definitely worth mentioning here the probable stress that Mel is having right now.
Yes.
The thought of conks running around your base is really not very calming, and just like, even if you've made some good decisions and you are ahead like she is, because she has got that 10 Vil lead at this point, she's not really playing her own game, she's playing his game, and that
very
can
responsive still.
Yes, it makes trying to work out how I can win from this position just a little bit harder, because you're not where you wanted to be when you were loading into the game, basically.
Some good monk micro there.
Yes,
converting
really
2
good.
Different units.
Very, very quick on the monk micro, and it's really paid off as well.
Finding this a really interesting point in the game to be at. I'm not sure, like, I'd be...
Oh, wow, that was a quick conversion.
That was a quick conversion. Like, it's a very annoying point for Mel to be in, conks on your face. But again, she's got a good eco set up.
Yes,
that full work outside, it's brave, but I quite like it.
Yeah, eco's very balanced as well, and if you look over to Roadrunners, he's having a little bit of a struggle in terms of the eco
on the
balance.
way to imp.
Mel is?
Yeah.
How did I miss that? Oh, wow. Okay, that is, I mean, that's poles for you, right? You put that on the full work. If you're ever floating wood with poles, you never use the market if you need food. You just whack down a full work and
it's the kind of thing where, like, she was taking off her main gold, but you get gold from stone.
Yep.
You're having the market, you've got the stone, just macro your way up to...
Le macro. Okay, so Roadrunner's adding TCs now. It's the reason I sound surprised is because he was on 1 TC for quite a while, and he's banked up quite a lot of res, and I thought maybe he was going to attempt some kind of fast imp as well. But he's adding TCs now, so in my opinion that's a little bit late. With the res he's floating, maybe he could have had those down a little bit earlier.
Yeah. And all this will do is actually delay an imp time, which is going to be a bit painful, actually.
Yeah, when he's got 3 trebs knocking on his castle's door, he's maybe going to reconsider.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, Mel, struggling in wood, struggling in gold, the market's gone down, so she won't be able to afford a treb for a little bit.
That's a good point. Yeah, she will have to rebuild that market and get her macro back on track.
Yeah. But still, even with him an 8-vil lead,
Yep. Definitely can't complain.
She's defended really well.
Yeah, that's an 8-vil lead after clicking imp as well. So obviously, when you're researching imp, you're not making vils out of one of your TCs, so you end up about 3 or 4 vils behind, maybe a little bit more.
Okay, the conks run back in. Start killing vils again.
Yep, and he has added scouts now, and those scouts are gonna take down 2, maybe 3 of two of the monks. And that's the thing that's scary about conks, is that even though Mel is in Imperial Age, they are such a powerful unit for Castle Age and a powerful unit for imp as well, that you can really find yourself in a rough spot if they have a mass.
Yeah. Treb on the way out now for Mel, so she can start trebbing back that castle.
Brilliant.
But has lost that vil lead, so...
Yes, that's a good point. And I feel like maybe just like we mentioned briefly earlier, like a panic TC on that golden folwark, just so he can't dive in with the conks just like that. Even if you don't want to make vils out of it, like it's really good to, you can almost use it like a fortification basically, just to garrison vils in and just stop the amount of bleeding basically in your base.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, and the monks come forward from Roadrunner.
That's
Maybe
good
trying
scouting
to get some
as well.
So a forward monastery, that's nice. That was a nice move.
So yeah, Mel is in this precarious position where, in theory, you've got Imperial Age. You should have better units, maybe not more units, but perhaps better units like trebs, of course, from a castle. But because Roadrunner has stayed in Castle Age for so long and has been spamming his powerful unit from his castle, he's actually got probably, if you look at the military numbers, a much stronger military of higher quality units.
20 more army is nothing to be...
hard to sniff at. So he's really, even though Mel is in Imperial Age and in theory you'd think she's ahead, Roadrunner really is in control here because of the delayed Imperial Age and the higher military mass. Oh, and that would be that's a Roadrunner castle. I thought that was a Mel castle.
No.
And that is a very good castle for Roadrunner. Okay, this is going to get spicy now.
Yeah. And I mean, even with Spanish, 4 vils, not enough to get
that's
that
not going to
first.
cut it. And I wonder what Roadrunner's reaction is going to be, because I'm assuming
maybe those. Yeah, she's trying to snipe the vils with the army.
Conversion is going to be really important here, even if it's just 1 or 2, because it's going to distract those conks.
Yeah, conks running under TC far as well.
And Mel has a lot more villagers, and that castle is going way up. And now there's only 1 villager left on that castle from Roadrunner.
Yeah,
it's his own
and
conversion.
That castle can just really deal a lot of damage to the conks.
That's fantastic. If he doesn't move those back, he's going to really start dropping in numbers.
Ooh, that cast from Roadrunner, there we go, deletes it, works against it. And now is when I quite like that Mel held the trebs back, didn't want to lose them, but now is the time I'd like to see them come forward, start trebbing back that castle.
I think I agree. Take them out the castle and move them forward, because you've got somewhere safe to set them under now.
Yeah.
Before it was a bit of a precarious situation because it didn't have much military and it was just a TC around them. But now you've got a whole castle, so you can definitely make use of them. And Roadrunner clicks imp himself.
Yeah. I feel like as soon as this castles go down, it feels like it could just like set the game again. Like forward's gone, Simorico's both an imp.
Yes. Yeah. But that hill, it's a big old hill.
Yes.
And it's a big old castle on top of it. It's going to take a long time to get rid of. And I think even as Mel goes to set these 2 trebs on it, it's going to take a long time to take that down. And he'll probably be imp himself by the time the castle's maybe even half HP.
Ooh, and those vils on the left coming forward for a castle on some of the expansion that Mel has done.
Yeah, that's going to be rough.
Yeah, and bringing lots of vils forward for it.
Yeah,
doesn't want it to be
denied.
That
mistake again.
Oh, just nuking a deal with the trap.
That's just disrespectful. And he's got enough res actually, Roadrunner, for another castle after this, so he can really just start chaining castles
Mel
right
trying
into
to build a
Mel's eco.
TC there.
And she just sees that as well. But even though she sees it, there's not a whole lot she can do about it, because I was saying she doesn't have the military control, and so she can't contest things like that. But I do love the walls around the trebs. That is fantastic.
It's great. I think now's the time where we might want to start seeing Schlacter. She's getting the techs for her knights.
Yep.
Let's just get the tech that makes them cost no gold.
Yes.
And just get as many Cavalier out as you can get.
Yeah. We're definitely at the point in the game where she has actually survived quite well and survived long enough that she has a decent eco now.
Yeah.
And she can start, pumping out military units, because she just doesn't have control of the game at the moment if she doesn't do that.
No.
And that castle is down at the top, sorry, excuse me, at the top of the hill. And that gives her control of her, well,
Secondary
maybe not control, but access to it, at least.
I mean, but a whole tile of it taken out by Roadrunner in that time.
This man, disrespectful, shooting deer, stealing gold.
Yep.
And Bracer coming in from Roadrunner. I wonder what
just
that's
for the castles? Just for the range?
Maybe he couldn't quite range all the TCs he wanted with his castles, so he's getting that tech. And he's got stables in the back of Mel's base. Were they from before, or has he just built those?
So one was there before, those two are new ones.
Okay. That's going to be a real pain in the butt to clean up from Mel as well.
I think Mel's kind of struggling to know what to do at the moment. She's not really making army.
But I will say, her defaulting to making vills as she's doing, that's very rarely a bad thing.
Yeah.
So she's got a really substantial EK lead now, but it's just a bit of a struggle, it seems, to convert that into a military lead, and therefore like a game lead at this point. And Cavalier coming in as well, so she's definitely thinking about it and she wants to do something about it.
Yeah.
And that is a good castle right in her eco, a really
Yeah.
high value eco she has there.
Stopping those chained castles you were mentioning. Yeah.
And she can, as she's doing now,
Safe
she can
place to
park her
trap as well.
trebs. Yep. She's doing very well defensively.
Yeah.
And as soon as she converts her defensive lead, well, I don't know about lead, but her defensive position that she's gained into a military lead, she'll be able to start going straight back to Roadrunner's base and repaying the favour.
Roadrunner possibly focusing so much on the sport could maybe use rebalancing his eco a little bit. I mean, Spanish kind of rely on a lot of food for their units.
There's nothing wrong with having a lot of gold, unless you have nothing of everything else.
Yeah.
So or maybe he's just got so many techs with Spanish that he's just...
It's just that 400 gold.
Got no idea what to do with it all. He's just, just swimming in it.
I mean, Roadrunner's still being really annoying with these units.
Yeah, even though there's a castle there, there's no ballistics, so they can still run around quite a bit. And Mel doesn't quite have enough Cavalier at the moment to be able to chase those.
And I think I'd probably prefer she just keeps them back, keeps getting a big number so she can just flood them once they're ready.
She at this point she can definitely afford to wait, because she's got a lot of defense in terms of fortification around her base. She's got 3 castles in her eco and a bunch of TCs. Maybe she doesn't know she has a Vil lead, but she could probably imagine she's about equal with Vil numbers at least, and the Conks can't do much, and that's a really bad dive there. He's taking a lot of damage.
Does get a trap down, but lost a lot of Conks and taken a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's hard to work out if that's worth. Like, the majority of his military is Conks at this point, so and he's running out of castles because he's getting trapped down by 2 trebs, and he's lost the one at the top of the hill from earlier. So
Mel deciding to go for the trebs first.
And to be honest, I don't mind that. Just making sure her castle doesn't go down while she's massing, and then work on that military
repair.
production.
Doesn't have a stone banked up. I mean, but just to try and delay that castle going down.
Yep, she's diving with the Cavalier, but I think there's just too many Conks there. There's just too much. The raw DPS that Conks have is really just quite
I feel like if you're going to dive to throw units, would you not prefer to throw them for the trebs there? Take out the threat of your buildings?
And it looks like she did go to repair there, but was just like a little bit too late, and now because that that castle wasn't kept up, that really high value but vulnerable full walk eco, that's quite hard to say, is wide open basically for raiding.
Yep.
But taking not a terrible engagement here actually. And did we see if she got selected privileges?
I don't remember seeing it come in.
Well, that's not a terrible fight, especially if there's more Cavalier coming on the way.
I mean, it's reducing the number of conks.
Yeah.
Roadrunner only seems to be producing light cav behind as well, which...
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, first of all, Roadrunner's eco is really in need of a little bit of balancing. And his only 28 on food is really limiting what he can actually make here. And Mel's still holding, even after all this damage, still holding a really nice 15 vil lead.
It's just so many idols. It's really tricky to know how to recover from this. And another forward castle, which denies all those stables going up.
This is what we were talking about earlier at the start, is when you get boxed into your own base, you start to float some wood. It's hard to make space for farms, especially with poles, which is a civ that's so like space hungry in the first place. And that's GG from Mel.
I mean, well played to both.
A really good defense, held for a very long time against the scariest unit that Castle Age has ever seen. So that's...
I mean, definitely really, I mean, we thought the castle was coming a bit late, but it did a lot of damage once it came out.
Yes. Well, I really like the maneuvering around of the Vils. Maybe we were questioning it a little bit during the game, thinking... what's going on here, but it was I think really worth it to move it all the way around, really open up the base of Mel, and
especially since Mel had set up that front bit to be protected.
Yep, and maybe just by chance as well, where the berry spawned, but that full walk with all the farms around was suddenly in the worst position possible. Like if he placed that castle on the left side, the far walk would be right at the back of the base, and it would be quite untouchable for the Spanish player. But as soon as he moves around and places that castle on the hill, it completely opens up the base.
So yeah, I mean, really close game. I'm excited to see the rest of this now after such
an interesting game as well. A fairly fast type of play from Mel, which I didn't know was going to be on the cards today at all.
I mean, early defense, it looked like she was making a lot of really good choices, making the monks against the conks, getting imp sooner. It's 2 TCs as well. I
honestly think the key part of that game was the castle on the left, the lack of repairs on that, because Mel had good eco, she had 20 vils more, she was pumping out Cavalier, and meanwhile Roadrunner's eco was in shambles, and he didn't have the only military he was pumping out was light cav. So if maybe Mel had kept that castle alive just a little bit, maybe even like 2 minutes longer, which isn't a lot of repairing. Could have really had a big momentum shift there, but
possibly diving on the trebs instead of the conks as well. Yeah, especially
when you've got one castle as well, because conks are hard to replace, obviously, when you've got no castles or just the one castle. But when you've got 5 stables pumping Cavalier, you can take those kind of trades. So yeah.
So now we've got 2 fairly similar open land maps. So which one do you pick?
Well, I imagine it would make sense to pick your own home map.
Yes, yeah.
That would be quite a statement to lose the first game and then pick the other person's home map. But Arabia is Arabia, though. So.
It is Arabia, but especially with it being a new map, we don't know how much experience Roadrunner has on it.
It's a good point.
What prep he might have ready.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Maybe Mel has quite a few practice games. Maybe Roadrunner's never even seen the map before and he has no idea what he's going to look at. But I'm assuming by his Civ picks, Mongols in particular, I'm looking at. Yeah. I'm assuming he's had a look at the map and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
The question is now for Mel, what Civ. I'm assuming that it's going to be Nyom, the map.
Yes.
But the question is what Civ it's going to be. Personally, I would love to see some Goths, like I was saying earlier, because I think they're really versatile now and they're just an exciting Civ and everyone loves them. So it's hard to go wrong with that pick. But I wouldn't, be a little bit disappointed, but it would make sense if she maybe picked Franks or Malians and used the mobility of those 2 civs on a map like Neom.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, and Mel very comfortable with using mobility.
Yes.
And Frank's just so smooth to play as well. And if you can get the forward, I mean, the faster gathering berries are a bit slower than they once were.
That's true as well.
You've got that lot of berries in the middle.
Yeah, and it's going to be hard to compete with that.
Yeah.
Eco-wise, especially with the Civ like Magyars, because they don't have an eco bonus themselves. Also, if he has Mongols, if he does use Mongols on Neon, but he doesn't even have the middle, then suddenly that's also a Civ that has no eco bonus as well. So, be really interesting to see the level of value that both the players put on the middle.
Yeah.
Because like I said to you earlier, I think before we popped up on the stream, I'm not sure on the value of the middle, but I would like to see at this level what kind of use they can make out of it. I think that'd be interesting.
I mean, it's really exciting to see a new meta for a new map develop as a tournament goes on.
I mean, I love new maps, especially new open maps, because I mean, there's a lot of them out there, but the thing is, we see a lot of the similar style maps played a lot of the time in tournaments. So like anytime there's a new one, it's just refreshing, and I do like the map as well. Played it a few times in practice to test it, and I really enjoyed the games on it. It was very fast paced. It was very stressful as well, just because of the layout of the map, and it just makes for really good games. And definitely. The general rule is if it's stressful for the player, it's great for the spectator because they're having a good time watching all the things going on. But for the player, they're just sweating in their chair and wishing they never picked it. So.
Yeah, warning to whoever's sat close to them in the rows here.
Maybe we should get some cones out, make a perimeter.
Yeah.
So they're just getting into the lobby now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to squint at Mel's screen and see what Civ she's picked, but my eyesight isn't that good.
Can't quite see either. It is really fun to be able to just look around and see
it's cool.
what people are doing.
It's it's interesting about LAN events and stuff is that I mean it sounds weird, but when you're playing with people online, it's hard to like picture the actual person behind the computer, and then you're here and you've got all these people that. You know, you've played a lot of games with, and you know them, and you're like, oh wow, it's actually a person behind the computer.
Yeah, they have a face.
Like they're like me. They walk and they talk. And no, it's really good fun, great environment, and it looks like they're just starting the map now.
Yeah. Okay. I'm finding the way Roadrunner has his keyboard and mouse setup really interesting.
That is unusual.
Yeah.
Really forward left hand, keyboard tilted so that the right side is really far up, and that gives space for his mouse. That is really unusual. It does sound like we are in.
Goths Magyars.
Amazing. So that's interesting, first of all, because Neon was Mel's home map. Am I reading that right?
Yes.
And Magyars was Roadrunner's first pick.
It was.
So maybe the fact that he got Huns later on in the draft, maybe he thinks Neom's a bit more aggressive, and he would prefer the more aggressive Civ Magyars. Well, I think they're probably about equal Huns and Magyars, but it's just very nice having that free attack.
Yeah, the free forging really, I mean, makes a difference when trying to snipe vills, dealing with spearmen. Yeah,
it makes Drushes better, makes Man-at-Arms better.
Yeah.
And I think those two things lend themselves to this map a little bit more than Arabia, but...
Yeah. I mean, the thing to remember about this map is you do kind of know where your opponent is.
Yes.
So you have an idea of that. So, like, you know where you can go and get some value fairly quickly. Whereas something like Arabia, it's a bit more varied. You might have to scout a bit more before getting the value from your units. Yeah,
and I like that there aren't deer in your own base on this map, because when you know where the person is, obviously the first thing you're going to do is, or first thing you're going to think is, I don't need to scout because I know where they are, so I'm just going to default and get some deer. And obviously that's the good play, that's the right play to make, but when you don't have any deer in your base,
suddenly changes what you need to do. Is it worth maybe trying to push a couple from the middle?
I think it makes the Dark Age a lot more tactical, to be honest. It puts a higher value on scouting, and also a higher value on greed as well. So either direction you go in, I think it makes it a lot more interesting. We're going to see what Mel is up to here. And she's got 4 on wood, so that is pretty typical of a Drush or maybe a Man-at-Arms play.
Build, yeah. And let's see where this Vil heading slightly forwards going now.
So the question is it going to be a house? It's going to be a house.
Houses.
But like we were saying earlier, are they going to place value on the middle? And if they do, is that value going to be in Dark Age or is that going to be in Feudal Age?
And another Vil coming forward now as well for Mel. So it looks like it could be heading towards the middle.
Yep, and he's got his basket out.
Yep.
He's off to build a mill, gather some berries. And it's worth noting you do get berries in your own base on this map, but you don't get the hunt. So I'm assuming it would make sense if that Vil is going to end up hunting some deer.
Yeah. I mean, especially as Goths at the moment.
Yes.
With longer lasting
100%.
hunt, such a fast food income, having them last longer is just insane. I think the trade-off obviously here being you've got that walking time to get to the middle.
Yep.
They're exposed, they're vulnerable.
Yes.
But, I mean, it's such a strong potential source of food.
Yeah. It's the kind of thing that if you can get away with it, it's well worth it. But this is the thing that I was debating when I was playtesting the map is it's not the is it worth it part, because of course it is worth it when you get it, but the problem comes is in Feudal Age, it's such an aggressive map and everyone knows where everything is. It's really easy to get caught out in the middle by enemy military, so that's when it starts to be a little bit more debatable as to whether it's a good idea to be in there or not.
Ooh, and Mel, forgetting about the Goths, they kill those hunt things a little bit quicker. That boar not quite ending up where she would have wanted it to be.
On the other hand, she is Goth, so you got 50 food per villager, so they can probably take all the food from that boar and it wouldn't even be an issue because that's
no lost efficiency.
Yes.
Well,
that's what I like to tell myself anyway when I do this.
Yeah. Ooh, and trying to be a little bit aggressive, take some Vils, health off a Vil, and it's causing a lot of panic there.
Yeah,
idle Vils.
Very messy under the TC there. And what I'm interested to see now is, from the original thought of 4 Vils on wood, where that, what I assume is going to be a barracks, is going to go. Is it going to be at the front?
Well, I mean,
Speak of the devil,
there we see it, yeah.
It's going to be
Forward
right
barracks.
on all the food. And I quite like that as well because, I mean, you can only assume that Magos is going scouts probably.
Yep.
Maybe they could do Men-at-Arms, but I think the safe assumption here would be scouts. So if you've got your spearman production, where your high-value food is, I think that's quite a nice thing to have, because your spearmen are going to be running up and down that centre strip of grass to and from your base.
I mean, we see Roadrunner now clicked up 22 pop quite late.
Yep. Maybe that was due to a little bit of panic under the TC. Maybe hadn't quite figured out the build. Hard to say, really.
Mel also has a little bit of a delayed Feudal Age.
Yes. 24 pop. Well, actually, it's 23 pop because it's Goths. So it's only a pop later than the Scouts. So that's not too bad. And
do we start seeing the militia coming in?
Exactly. That is the question.
Struggling to afford them at the moment. There's the food. And there's the militia. Yeah.
Now, the question with Goths is how many? That is what we all want to know.
Well, surely it's a question of just keep going.
Yeah. I mean...
Okay. I mean, Roadrunner doing quite small walls to the TC, just trying to protect. I mean, a lot of back res there. Yeah,
that is, other than the gold situation, that is a very nice map to be playing scouts with.
Yeah.
But when you play scouts, you can just do these small walls like he's doing, and then wall into the TC.
Will Mel find that stable? She's got a militia heading around that way.
Oh yeah, she does.
She spots
right
it.
on top of it.
Oh, this is huge.
Yeah. Denied stable is going to be a really rough risk player trying to get scouts, of course.
Yes.
And also that
just try and take out his low health. Oh,
and he deletes it. Thinks better.
Good play.
And is he going to try and wall in towards the TC? He is. Does Mel care? Is she going to walk straight forward? And just walled out. That was quick.
Just denied.
And that's straight away.
Yeah, and denied because she had the militia grouped with the scout moving a bit slower.
Yes, yeah. It's the kind of thing where you want your scout moving forward and trying to block the building foundations. But these houses are going to melt, so if Roadrunner's not paying attention, they're going to disappear very quickly.
And if the scouts just pop up to the top and start attacking men-at-arms, they'll slowly like go down. It will be actually quite difficult for the scouts to do much unless he just is careful and sends them right forward.
And something I was just going to mention as well that Mel's already doing, she's adding another man-at-arms, and she's done it in the perfect order. She knows he's going scouts. She's added a spearman.
Spearman, yeah.
And then she's added another man-at-arms afterwards, and if she keeps adding spearmen, you've got that base of 4 man-at-arms which are going to tear through buildings, even if they weren't Goths with the anti-building bonus.
And Archer's coming in now as well, so she's really trying to be all out and
put
go
the
forward.
pressure on.
Yeah.
And Roadrunner is definitely feeling the pressure because he has built so many houses. He's already got 55, maybe almost 60 now, worth of pop space. And you don't really want to be building that many houses that early just because you don't need them. So it's a waste of res. And Mel is forcing that wastage, which is really good.
I like this, though, sending the scouts forward.
Yep.
Okay, and oh no, Mel has got a man-at-arm and a spearman protecting that food income.
Already. That's smart. And they're going to think better of it. Those scouts are going to go straight past it. Or no, they're going to... Nope.
I mean, there are enough scouts there to take out that spearman, especially with Magyars with the extra attack.
But at this point, when your economy is in the spot it is with Roadrunner, could be a little bit better, could be a little bit cleaner. Do you want to take that kind of trade? And he is going to take that kind of trade, and it's going to okay, I think.
Because Mel producing more spearmen, though, really good.
Yep. Definitely you want to just kind of have near constant production from spearmen or Goths at this point. I think Mel is maybe a little bit intimidated by those scouts, and she's sending the 2 of those vills back home.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like she had a gather point set forward, so she's wanting to use this res which she thinks she's got control of. And I think she's got a decent bid to saying she has got control of them. Spearmen at home, in the middle to defend. And
they're going to take a really good trade. They're going to clean up all 3 scouts, and that's fantastic. That's really good. And now Roadrunner has a lot less utility to work with.
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of a bit stuck at home. There's man-at-arms which tear through buildings, archers which can threaten vills behind. This is a really good setup for Mel. Yep,
she's really made the most of the Goths, basically. This is the perfect Gothing. Perfect Gothing so far. I'm struggling today. And that's another scout picked off in the middle, and that's really good. That's why we wanted those spears just sat around in the middle. And now, like you said earlier, she can keep that gather point forward and make the most of it.
Yeah, I mean, still a lot of deer to take, all the berries. Quite like to see, I mean, if she could spot around the side, seeing that he's open and these edge bits, maybe bring some archers forward to deny the wood line.
I didn't see that Roadrunner had that back gold in the back of his base. That was really convenient for him because he has pretty much totally lost control of the middle now. It's 2 military to 11, and the 11 military counters his military very hard. So he doesn't have much going on.
Okay, here come the archers.
That's going to be perfect, right on the wood line.
And are those... Oh, you sent vills out to the gold on the side. So in every corner of this map, there's a little oasis which has a lot of trees and 2-3 tile piles of gold.
Yep. And then there's also some gold scattered around in the middle of the desert as well. I think it's just 1 3-tile patch, I think, in the middle somewhere.
It's either or 2 piles or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, not much. But and forcing a tower, I mean, again, also huge. No stone to mine on this map. If you want to add TCs, you're going to have to buy it now.
Yep. And that's going to be a real hit. Maybe not right now, but later on, Roadrunner's going to be feeling that. When he's going to have to use the market to get his stone back. And we get more and more vills.
Really good. I mean, 20 on food at the moment. I think a lot of it in the middle.
Yep.
Might be a bit of a struggle when it all runs out. Might be a sudden drop.
Might be a bit of an exodus back to her own base. But
I mean, but while she's got it, she's going to take advantage of it. And I mean, she could be able to get a really threatening castle age.
Yeah, really threatening. And she's having a little scout around the side now just to see what she can get. Fletching on the archers, so might be able to range some wood.
Forcing more house walls as well. I mean, a lot of investment to defend here.
Yeah, there are. Roadrunner's not going to be housed for a long time. Let's put it like that. And he's got a few weak scouts that he could try and get some work done. Maybe the play for Roadrunner here, he doesn't have to stop making scouts just because of what's happening in the middle in his base, because he's keeping walled.
Yeah.
So he is safe, but Mel's base is wide open.
Exactly.
And this is where what I was talking about earlier about the mobility aspect of this map really comes into play, because he could be running all the way down the length of that map, and like that woodline's super exposed, farms are exposed, gold's exposed, but it's hard to think about things like that when you're panicking in your own base.
And I think it's and Mel finding Roadrunner on the gold. That's huge.
Very big.
That's huge. But it's something I think that as you get a little bit better, you start to realize, well, actually, I can deal with what's with here. I can go forward with this base. I can focus on these two things at the same time, get value with units forward while keeping myself alive at home.
100%. It's definitely a really, really good ability to develop, to look at your game, kind of zoom out in your brain a bit, step back and think, actually, in the grand scheme of things, if I can trade damage here, then we're suddenly on an even footing rather than me just trying to mitigate damage in my own base. And that's definitely a skill that, as you get better and better, becomes more and more prominent in games. And that's why, at the pro level, sometimes you see things like base trades where the pros are like, there's no way I can defend this at home. I'm just going to go and do as much damage as I can at my opponent's base. And now Mel is making a move on that gold on the right side, and that is a really, really good fight.
A man-at-arm, 2 archers. I mean, there's nothing to stop this from carrying on.
This is the type of thing where you have to vilify and hope for the best, I think.
And Mel, I hadn't noticed, Mel clicked up only 40 seconds away from Castle Age.
Yes, I'm completely missed that as well. And she's adding more man-at-arms as well. This is...
I mean,
potential for a longsword play, maybe.
I like that. I really like it. I mean, you've got forward pressure, you've got some man-at-arms already.
Yep.
I mean, Roadrunner would have to be, like, we expect some knights.
Yep.
But doesn't have bloodlines yet, doesn't have many upgrades. Longswords will do fine. You're forcing the fights, they 100%. Have to respond to it.
And also, the pikeman addition for Goths is just so easy. Yep. It's cheaper.
Longsword, there we go. Amazing.
The pikes themselves are cheaper, and is the upgrade cheaper as well?
No.
Am I imagining that?
I don't think the upgrade's cheaper.
It is quicker though.
It is, yes. Yeah.
So that'll be really easy for Mel to add pikes in, and she's up a good amount. And I missed the longsword tech as well. That was super quick as well. Yeah. And I think she has sight of those, maybe not. I think she saw them moving to the left, but she just can't quite.
Well, yeah, she tracked them along from the gold on the right.
Yep.
I mean, Roadrunner did good annoyance with the scout to stop the longswords from carrying on to chase, but it's just so much idle for Roadrunner.
Yes, that is a lot of Vils having a little party in the trees back there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how they got there. That's 13 Vils. That's over a third of Roadrunner's eco sitting in the trees back there.
And he can't afford a lumber camp. I mean, now Cannon seems to have placed one. But, it's a really tough position to be in.
Yeah, I think Roadrunner's eco is definitely on wobbly legs here. Mel has a significant eco lead, and there hasn't been any TCs placed. That's a 7-Vil eco lead, just basically made up by idle time because of the pressure that Mel's been putting on her opponent. And it's caused this panic, basically, that's making our Roadrunner forget to key Vils, which is really valid damage.
Yeah.
Longswords are in.
Pikeman on the way. I mean, you mentioned it, just really cheap as Goths. I mean, and any knights just immediately become so much less valuable. Yep,
if you even smell a knight when you're playing as Goths, just click it. There's no reason not to.
Yeah. And obviously, like the Goths bonus, extra damage on buildings can really tear up the base. Just there won't be anything left.
And Roadrunner is going to really have it's going to be tough for him to answer this in his base.
I think
he's quite a bit TC damage though.
Yeah, I think I'd quite like to see Mel try and keep aware of the gold. I mean, she was aware of the right-hand side, but maybe try and send just one unit over to the left, scout it out, see what's going on there.
Keeping units on the right side is really nice as well, because it's very easy to be cheeky to just, if you've been forced off, just go straight back and build a TC, and then it's like it never happened. But keeping units there, that's a really good way to deny that. And Mel has moved out herself to the top. No TCs from either of them at the moment. Extra TCs.
Roadrunner, obviously, we talked about, would have to buy it at this point.
Yes, that's a good point.
And has been struggling for gold, forced off the right-hand side, had to move over, hasn't really had access to his own main golds at his own base. Whereas Mel, relatively untouched. I mean, she's still completely open.
Yep. At this point, I begin to wonder what Roadrunner's win condition is, because I mean, score-wise, it looks not too bad.
This is maybe where we see us try and do that move that might get him back in the game, sending knights forward.
It's almost like he's listening. He's gone straight to the middle. which is pretty much the heart of Mel's eco at this point, and that's going to be a lot of damage.
Yeah, a lot of vills to lose here.
And this is, again, where the mobility is really going to be king here. I think Mel's been doing all of this aggression on one barracks, is that right? Which is really nice, because that means you get a lot more eco development, because you're not using like 2 or 3 eco military buildings.
I mean, there's a second barracks coming down now, which I think possibly needed. Try and get some spearmen out, pikemen at this point to defend that middle bit.
Definitely flood that middle bit with pikemen, 100%.
And she is making them. I mean, at this point, Eco KD quite in favour of Roadrunner, 14 kills, 7 deaths.
Yeah, that's quite big.
I mean, still it's decreasing, so equal vill count at this point. And at this point, I think we probably do want to start seeing another TC coming up from Mel to recover. Like, have this pikeman to defend.
When you're working against mobility like this, you really want a way to keep your vills safe, because your units aren't going to keep your vills safe because they're half the map away, because they've just sprinted all the way down to your TCs. So getting some TCs of your own is a really smart idea.
I mean, Roadrunner's just done the perfect move there to get himself back in.
Yep.
We've taken the vill lead. And just... Is that a TC coming up on the left now? I don't think so. No, it's a market. Okay.
But that's still wide open. And I wonder where Mel's going with those longswords. Maybe she's had the thought of herself to...
Oh, it looks like she has.
And this is going to re-equal up.
Yeah.
The damage that's been done already.
I mean, but big difference. It's much harder for the longswords to chase down.
Yes, that is big as well.
Yeah.
And again, these knights really making the mobility work and making Mel respond. And the longswords have found their targets.
Though. Yeah.
And
this is great damage again.
That's 11 vills of exposed eco, and that's going to more than equalise the damage that was done earlier. And this is a very tradey game, and I do love how both players have somewhat accepted the fact that they can't deal with what's in their own base, and they're going to go out and just equalise the damage and keep the game even.
Yeah. I was wondering earlier why don't we try and see Gambesons to try and tank more damage from the TCs, but Goths don't get it. So
it's
such a shame. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Probably a good thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not something I want to be against or see in pro games. There's longswords doing work against the knights, and of course the villagers as well. And this is the value of leaving those longswords, that military there from earlier.
I mean, and they'll just, again, take down the stables. I mean, they killed the vills. There's just so much military all over the place that we see idle military everywhere.
Stuff going on everywhere. This is what I meant earlier, when if it's a stressful game to play, which I just know this has been a stressful game for both of them to play, it makes good spectating. So I'm happy to watch. And just the idle TC time now for Roadrunner is really, really racking up, just because of the... Just how there's things going on everywhere, basically. It's hard to remember to keep making vills when every corner of the map has something going on, and you're trying to do your own damage.
Mel's been doing really well with that then. I mean, only 3 minutes.
Doing fantastic.
Yeah. Fletching coming in now from Roadrunner. Is that just for the TC damage? Or is
I reckon that's for the TCs.
Yeah.
And it's now minute 34, and...
We're at 34 vills and 20 vills.
A combined 54 vills in the whole game. So, it's been a stressful game when the numbers are looking like that.
But I do kind of struggle to see what Roadrunner can do at this point. He's not got good food eco to carry on making the knights, which were kind of holding him back in for a bit.
100%.
And a second TC from Mel, really good.
That's really going to extend the lead. And the longswords are there again for, what was that now, like the 6th time?
Yeah.
Keep on doing the damage, and even though a couple of them died there, she's got, so they're going to come back, and there's going to be more of them. And it's going to be really hard for Roadrunner to claw his way back into this.
Yeah.
I think, like you just said, the potential to do return damage is pretty much negated now, because he just doesn't have the eco to make units in the first place. I think this is what we're looking at here is pretty much all he's working with.
Yeah. I mean, it's just amazing to see them carry on. I wouldn't have blamed either of them for resigning at certain points of this game.
Yeah, no, it's good. Like the return damage, that he did earlier on that first raid with the Knights and Mel's base. I think like, because of the panic of this map, a lot of the time, it would be easy to get frustrated and think, oh, like, I can't believe I've just let this happen. Like, I had such a lead, it feels like a throw.
I mean, I think we just saw a forward siege workshop go up from Mel. I think that's quite nice to be able to actually take out that TC. It's got Pikeman there to defend them as well.
Brilliant. And at this point, MangoMel's good, but I think Rams are better because there's not a whole lot that, when you've got Pikeman running around everywhere, there's not a whole lot the Knights are going to be able to do. And the Rams are going to take the buildings out a lot faster, pretty much. And we just noticed, maybe about 30 seconds ago, Roadrunner looking for damage on that top right side, but Mel wasn't there. And luckily just got Pikes in the back of a base. And
just really, really good safe play at this point. Have Pikemen dotted around. They'll take out the Knights that come forward. Pike siege at the front, really threatening, really dangerous.
100%. And I feel like Mel's probably looking at that score now and thinking, I am in a good spot. And all I have to do now is just not lose. Easy, right?
Easy, right? As the Knights come back into the middle and take out even more villagers.
Roadrunner is not giving up with without a fight here at all, and he knows where all the GC eco is. And
he does.
Even though the berry's almost done now, there's a really nice wood line there from Mel, and he's going to take advantage of that. And even with this good return damage, he's going to call it.
Call it, GG. Another amazing game.
A very exciting game. Really good to watch. Fantastic games going on here.
Been a fabulous matchup so far.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's been really good.
We go into our final lap. We've got Arabia.
Yeah, all to play for.
Yeah.
That was a fantastic game. I really do commend both the players, like I said earlier, on the knowledge to go to each other's bases rather than just slam army into each other and hope for the best. Because I feel like it's a fantastic skill to oh wow, look at those APM spikes.
That's pretty
100 APM.
Oh,
I feel like that's this map for you. That's sensational.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
That's probably when he's looking at like each corner like 5 times in a second to see all the different longswords running about everywhere. That's sensational.
I would really like to really like the prep there from the players as well. Like new map, seeing Mel come in and be like, okay, I'm going to try and take advantage of the middle, use the man-at-arms to keep pressure forward, so like and make that as a safe food source.
I think I mean they've obviously looked at the maps and they know what to look for. Like when Roadrunner was looking in each corner, even though Mel wasn't there, he knew where the value was on the map, and the prep really does pay off, I think. And I think Mel used Goths to just like the perfect. Just like you couldn't ask for a better use of them in Feudal Age, basically. I think they're fantastic. Yeah,
pressure with the infantry, adding the archers in really big, just adding that extra little bit of threat in.
And that was a quick transition as well. Pretty much as she hit Feudal, that range went down, and that just extends your level of damage so much. Like man-at-arms by themselves, they're great, but only when they can actually get in, and it's really, the archers that let them get in, or even if they can't get in, just range woodlines. Thank you very much. I can hear the water slapping sounds even louder. Thank you, Walt.
Thank you. Yeah. So now we head into the last map, Arabia. Mongols, Huns as options, and Franks, Malians. I mean, all really good options.
I think even before we laid into the map, just looking at the 4 civs we've got left, I'm assuming we're finally going to see our scouts that I was expecting from definitely from the last map from both players. But I imagine it. See, Mongols is strange now for me because maybe that's going to be the civ that's left over for Roadrunner, because Mongols are great on Arabia, but first of all, I can't remember, is laming allowed in this tournament?
Yes it is.
Okay, so maybe Roadrunner's going to try get an early advantage with a lame.
But with the recent change, actually, training grounds, old Arabia script, deer is still pretty close in.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so forgot about that. But the most recent patch changed Arabia a little bit.
Yes.
It's a little bit more open, and deer are further away.
Yes.
Still working on the old patch, the old script.
Yep. I mean, people will associate Mongols with laming, but like you say, like even if you don't lame and you just lure those deer and you just take the food that is rightfully yours.
Yeah.
You'll still have an advantage because you'll be going up at like 17 pop or maybe 18 pop if you're quite keen. Be interesting to see if they are picked, just how much Roadrunner's practiced his build. Maybe he has a 17 pop build in the locker and he's ready to...
It's a very scary build to deal with.
It is.
I mean, but then Frank's Marlians. I mean, Marlian's seen a lot of love recently.
Yes.
And Frank's, they're just Frank's. They're classic. People know how to play them. They're really smooth. You know what they're going to do.
Yep.
But they're just really, really good at it.
Yes, it's one of those things that just, it's like the Spanish on Hideout. You know exactly what they're going to do, but can you stop it?
Yeah.
God, no, you can't, because they do it so well. That is, that really does go quite a long way. Especially at this level, when I was watching the games between Daisy and Nilis earlier with the Bulgarians on Morass, as soon as you load in and you see Bulgarians, you know that they're going to spam man-at-arms on that map. But is there like anything you can do about it in the first couple minutes of field? No, there isn't, because you're not Bulgarians and they are, and
you don't have 20 man-at-arms on your Shorefish. And
you're also not Viper, and you can't quick wall every single villain. So it's, I think it is a lot more down to strategy on this level as well, which is quite refreshing sometimes, rather than just seeing vills get quick walled in that should have died like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
But what I do like about Mel with Marlians here is that Marlians are a really nice, flexible civ against two civs of Roadrunner. They're actually very similar.
Yeah. I mean, Huns have a lot of very mobile, very they really do want to rely on the cav a lot. I mean, cav archer, knights, So Marlians having that option of camel. Yeah,
I think that's massive, to be honest, in these matchups. Even though Franks, I would prefer on a lot of levels. I think Marlians... Actually, I would retract my last statement, because now Marlians do really have a killer eco bonus. With I mean, they had a great eco bonus before with the wood, but now with the gold as well, it really is fantastic. And I feel like maybe between Franks and Marlians, I feel like personally for me, I think Marlians would be the obvious pick here. Well, not obvious, because I just discussed it for like 2 minutes. But I think Marlians would be the better pick, just because that flexibility into camels. Two great eco bonuses, just like Franks, but you just have the extra flexibility later on, I think.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, though.
I think the one thing that might make me lean more towards you might see the Franks is just familiarity.
Yes, and that goes a long way as well. Like it really, there's no point putting yourself in a position that's uncomfortable just because you think it might be better if you know you're going to play better.
Yeah.
With a certain civ than UDE basically.
I mean, Roadrunner. I mean, the Mongols and Huns. I'm really not sure which one I feel like I'd want to do slightly different things with both of them. They kind of end up at a fairly similar position, but
later on. I mean, both of these civs are really threatening if they get to their either Mangudai Ball or Cav Archer Ball for Huns, because they are not units that Franks are very well equipped to deal with, and I think Marlians maybe not particularly either.
No.
Yes, they have camel, but do you want to be slinging your camels straight into their Cav Arch once they get hit and run for 10 minutes? Not really.
And CA, I mean, even the Champ Skulls, the extra Pierce Armor champions, the mobility from Mangudai and Cav Archer make it a lot harder to use them.
Just going to run circles around you. Just in the lobby now.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm squinting to see what civs they've picked. The zoom on this camera is sensational.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I'm not going to say anything, but in case they can hear me.
Okay, and it looks like the game is just about to launch in now.
Brilliant. I feel like Arabia is a really nice last map to go on, because it's, like you said earlier, everyone's played it.
Yeah.
Everyone's confident. I think you'll see a lot more just confidence within themselves in terms of what they do for this last map, which will make some interesting games, I think.
Absolutely. Franks Mongols.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I mean, Mel, nice and send it.
Yep.
I think that's the way it
Tried,
has to happen.
tested, proved.
Easy to do.
Yep.
I mean, and if you get into the position, maybe throwing a forward siege in there as well.
Yes, definitely a confidence and familiarity thing coming into play here. I am interested / slightly scared for the Mongol pick. I wonder, because that's a very forward ball on a very forward hill for MangoMel. And I wonder if we're going to see the scout taking a little jolly over to the other person's base.
It looks to just be scouting at the moment. Decided not to push that zebra yet, even though running past it. I mean, generally as Mongols, you want to try and get that hunt in as quickly as you can.
Yes. You're either getting your hunt in or you're getting someone else's hunt in as quickly as possible. But in this case, I think Roadrunner's going to opt for the sheep option, which I don't particularly hate either.
No. I mean, just securing your own res.
Yep.
Yeah.
And maybe he is, like we mentioned earlier, he's just going to play it safe. He's maybe doesn't feel confident on the laming. And he's just going to collect his own things. He's going to gather them faster, and that's where he's going to take his advantage in this matchup.
I mean, it was Roadrunner's home pick, home map pick. Obviously, feeling confident, bit of a statement to try and say, I feel like I can beat you on this very standard map. So.
Yes, yeah, it is. Maybe he just wants to keep it simple for that reason as well.
Yeah.
Just want to add extra pressure on himself to lame, because laming is, it's never a smooth operation at any level.
Yeah.
So,
and especially at this level, very high risk.
Yes.
Does have a high reward, especially as Mongols, but.
Oh, that boar is taking an interesting route.
But saves the Vil.
Save the Vil. Smooth.
Yeah.
Very smooth.
Ball coming in and a good position for it as well.
Yeah, perfect. That's maybe the best resolution you could ask for, something like that. That was very nicely done. And a very nice ball there for Roadrunner as well. It's fantastic.
Just smooth play for both.
And that's 3 on wood for both as well. No, that's 2 on wood for...
No, one building a house. So 3 on wood for both.
So it's going to be fairly predictable, I think.
Yeah.
Both going to be opting for a fast scouts build.
Yeah, but I mean, fairly big difference. Mel looks like she's pushing a deer in.
Yes.
Roadrunner not really doing that.
Yeah, and that's unusual when you're playing Mongols, because those deer are fantastic. And there he is.
There we go.
So it should be. Both Scout and Zebra being very stubborn there. No one's in to move. And I've got to say, I have noticed that Roadrunner's map is very nice. He's got berries as far back as you could ask them to be, pretty much. And the gold is very tucked away in that corner. Some very easy walls into the TC, perhaps, and then to the edge of the map. That's not a lot of effort at all.
And as the game goes on, good access to stone if you want to build up towards
yes,
castles, get Manga
well.
die.
That's very rare, actually. All 3 of those gold, stone, and berries, they're all behind his TC, which is very unusual, actually. Very fortunate. Whilst Mel's, it's the complete opposite story. They're all forward. I guess the berries are kind of side, but yeah. Scrandy points out 2 back golds, which could be nice.
Yeah.
I wonder if Mel will try and wall around the front gold, or she will wall into the TC and take the back golds.
See, it's something that again, as you start going, you just think, well, it's called the main gold. I need to go there first. But sometimes you maybe need to think about, well, that's very forward. This back gold, a bit safer. I can take it and then maybe TC the main one later on, or take it when there's control for it.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing stopping them taking it in Feudal Age as long as they have the military presence to not get raided. But it's both going to be clicking up soon. Mel is going for 21 pop scouts, I think.
Yes.
Yep, and then Roadrunner's going to be 21 pop, and he's got loom afterwards. So he's going to have an extra Vil on the way up. I was trying to work out the timings there, and I couldn't work out, but that makes sense.
And we've also got almost 20 seconds idle time for Mel, which is adding to that little difference. I mean, brave choice not to get loom. There's still a scout out on the field for Mel.
But it looks like he's been smart and not putting those production buildings too far away from his TC. It's within range. The real disaster play is being cocky with the loom after feudal to get that little advantage, and then building the building so far away that you can't garrison your TC, and these are the Vils. And it's not a good look
for Mel.
It is big, but it is going to be really quite effective because it takes those berries behind the walls, and that means that Roadrunner is going to go all the way around that TC to get to what is probably one of the most valuable spots in your eco when you're making scouts.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what we're expecting from both here, like both on food units, like neither on gold. No one wanting to make archers, getting stable down now. Yeah,
and 3 vills on that stable. And that, look at the res he has banked over that course up to 700 feet. He's going to be able to pump scouts out 4 years. That is quite insane. And I think Mel maybe just noticed that loom timing, and she was just trying to get a sniper villager, but because it was within range of TC, ate a bunch full of arrows instead.
Only 1 vill making the stable for Mel. I feel like we might want to get a couple more on there just to get it up quicker.
Agreed.
You're later to feudal age. You saw how many built the stable from Roadrunner.
Yeah, there's got to be a bit of a time pressure at this point, but taking it easy with the 1 vill.
Yeah. I mean, and it would be the more like economy focused approach. Your Franks, you've got a good eco anyway. You've had the berries. You get a horse collar for free. Just try and get yourself set up as best you can.
I wonder what the motivation behind horse collar before Bitax was for Roadrunner. Maybe he banked a lot of wood. I hadn't seen. He's getting a lot of farms down now, but normally it's you'd prioritise the Bitax because that is just the best eco upgrade in the game.
Yep.
Pays off after about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. If my spirit of the law knowledge is correct. But now the scouts are starting to come out. Mel is currently, in terms of just raw military, she's going to have an advantage because her scouts have more HP.
Yeah.
And Roadrunner's kind of failing to use his time advantage right now. He's got a lot of military in the middle of the map.
Yeah. I think the worry for Mel is she did take a lot of damage from the TC on that early scout.
Yes.
Seems to have lost it since, so is behind in scout numbers.
Yep.
Which even with the Frank health is numbers always win.
Yes.
But she's got a few spearmen out, so she can take good fights with the spearmen in the right place.
Yep. And Roadrunner doing a really nice move here. He's been housed, which is not ideal, but whilst that TC, instead of leaving it idle, he's going to get a town watch, which is just like a really nice touch, and not a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
And I love it, love seeing it. I mean, I'd say I love it. I never do it myself because I never think about doing it. But I love to see it from other players because it gives you a lot of a really big difference to the line of sight, and
if you can see the scouts coming in just even a second earlier. That's 1 more second to respond, isn't it?
Yep, and you can get quick walls down.
Yeah. Garrison bills,
all the rest of it. It's just a really nice move, and it's underused, so it's cool to see that. And now a little skirmish in the middle for a second there, but I think the yellow scouts, I don't see where they've gone, up towards the middle of the map.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just sitting in the middle for a bit. I mean, the scout numbers have evened out. And we've got Spearman at home to defend for Mel.
That's a bit surprising considering the bank of food that Roadrunner was working with when he hit feudal, but he's still banking food now, so I wonder if he's going to try and play it slightly greedier and maybe opt for a bit of a quicker castle age timing.
And Mel's done well to keep the TC running a bit better. 2 vills ahead at this point without any kills. It can make a big difference.
Yeah, it really does. It's the kind of thing that just sneaks up on you during games, and you'll be a couple of vills behind your opponent without even knowing it.
Okay,
or a couple of vills ahead.
Both players, scouts forward, trying to deal damage.
Yeah, trying to see what they can find.
It's just important to have spearmen in the right place here.
Yeah, Mel's vills not walled in, Roadrunners are, so naturally the damage is going to be in favour of Roadrunner here, and he's going to find that woodline.
Good quick response.
Yep.
Bringing the vills back to the TC. And hopefully bring the spearmen over as well. But that's 2 vills down, possibly 3.
Is that the third one there?
That's 3 there, yeah.
And that's fantastic damage for Roadrunner. Can't ask for much more than that.
Mel with her scouts forward as well, trying to see what she can do, but being forced away.
We're going to find some damage whilst they're both distracted in the back of Roadrunner's base, I think. Yeah, Mel taking a few hits there on the hill. Again, it's one of those trades where you could probably win that engagement against the spears, but you don't really want to because you can't really do much afterwards. So that just makes it a little bit pointless. You just want to keep your scouts alive and either wait for a bigger mass or just use them for map presence. And Roadrunner looking to go on gold now, so I'm assuming this is with the still making scouts, but I'm assuming he's looking towards Castle Age now.
And it's probably when we'd start to expect seeing that. I mean, Mel's also been on gold for a little bit. I think it's been long distance, not quite been able to get the mining camp down. Ooh, a bit panicky quick walls, but gets them down. I mean, the spearmen just mean the scouts can't get much damage there.
And then Roadrunner scouts going back there, and I think Mel's just got the 4 scouts. Not much to do really at Roadrunner's base. It's all quite compact because of the way he's walled, which is really nice. Walled into the TC kind of from the gold direction, walled the wood in and walled in the front. So like, there's really not much you can do without going through the TC.
Yeah. I mean, and Mel's walls at the front there around the gold look a bit messy, but they work.
Yes.
They're going to keep the units out, and because there are no ranged units on the field.
Yep, you're right. It does look a bit precarious with the walls sticking out in a little blob in front of a base, but if they work, they work because it's only melee units.
Yeah.
And speaking of, I wonder what the play is now. Because they're both looking towards Castle Age, and they're both gonna. I mean, assuming that they're both gonna go into military as well. Yeah,
I'd imagine we probably see some cavalry play from both. I mean, Mongols do have the options of camels to add in here.
Yes.
Which is a bit annoying to deal with. Okay, like this here, having the spearmen in the right place where you're trying to wall. Keep yourself safe.
I think she recognises that those scouts could just run around, and she's adjusting accordingly. In terms of the Castle Age military, I think it's hard to decide from the Mongols' position because if you're the person, just missing those scouts there. If you're the person who's trying to make knights work against Franks who do it the best, you might run into a little bit of issue. So it's either got to be camels or it's got to be something else. But if you're just spamming knights at Franks, you're probably going to end up losing. So the scouts working their way towards the woodline again.
Okay, getting walls down. Bit too late on them though. And this woodline going to get hit again. That's really rough. But Roadrunner still hasn't clicked up yet. Had the res for a little bit. Only just clicked up now.
It looks like he's about a minute behind Mel there. But I think I'd rather be a minute behind.
With this pressure.
With this damage.
Yeah,
than,
with the damage.
Other way around.
Oh, that's amazing damage.
Good.
Getting a few vills on the berries. And keeping the scouts alive as well.
To tell the tale as well. That's brilliant.
I mean, and that's huge. If a few monks are added in to try and convert those scouts, going to get huge value again.
That is. And whilst that's happening, Roadrunner loses all of his scouts at the back of the base there. So that's. I don't know if it's a net positive trade for Mel or not, but I would say it's about even. And like we were saying earlier, sometimes that's the best you can ask for. So.
Mel still has the villager lead. Still has a military lead, and a lead in going into Castle Age with the timing. So
Roadrunner is very upset that his scouts evaporated. I wonder how that happened. And so this is what we were just talking about a little bit earlier. Is what is the Roadrunner's play gonna be? And he's dropping.
Well, he's dropped two extra stables.
So that's gonna be 3 stables total.
Yeah.
And I can only assume it's gonna be camels.
I mean, camels are a little bit cheaper, easier to afford in that 3 stable. And just going for safe walls to try and keep units out.
And I really do like this TC. This is what you were mentioning earlier.
Just TC, keep that gold safe.
Yep.
It's a really important resource for you going forward. You've not been able to secure those extra in the back, so make sure you keep that main one.
Yeah, it's a really awkward spot, and it's just a perfect shape for a TC in there, so why not? Right on a woodline as well. And we will see what kind of damage Mel is going to be able to do with those knights, but the 3 stable opening camels is going to make that tough.
It is. Pikeman click. Okay, we see Mel's response straight away.
Response. Yeah. That's fantastic at this point. Maybe you could ask for some kind of monastery play, but against 3 stables, I think the mass is going to be a little bit too much to handle with monks, especially on a map where they're going to be running around and doing damage. So.
And that's the other bonus of where that TC's ended up. It's on wood as well. Yep. So, like, you're making pikemen.
And they get in. The woodline.
Huge damage here for Mel. That's a possible exposed gold. I mean, bills off wood. Yeah.
But there is camels. There are a lot of them. And I don't think Mel's going to be able to...
Even Frank Knights can't take that out.
The mass is just too much there, and that's what you get when you go 3 stables instead of 2. Just get the mass a little bit earlier.
I really like what Mel's doing. She's had a few units there on the woodline. She's dragging the rest of them around to the other side.
Yes, yeah, she's playing both angles.
Yeah.
of a Roadrunner's base here, trying to find holes again.
And if she's doing this, if they're both trying to raid each other, I mean, Mel's units deal more of a threat. Knight's much better at raiding and killing units than Camels are.
Camels are very, very squishy to TCs as well. They have no pierce armor base. I mean, he's got
first armor.
Got the first armor upgrade, but it's even then it's not going to be enough. And Mel's got a very nicely placed TC and pikeman, so I think going forward here is the right call.
Yeah, I mean, and at the moment I think it's going to be tough for Roadrunner. I mean, he's down Vils, only one TC. Pikeman's already out, defending the base in the right places.
Yep, just needs to be careful with their reinforcements there. I think one got caught out there, but I think the damage she's doing in return is probably worth it.
I think I'd maybe quite like to see those knights run around, see if they can get into the gold rather than just hit a house, but it's causing a response. It's forcing attention, which isn't at the front. It's,
like we were saying the other day, it's just, if you have the initiative, it's just a very nice feeling and very nice place to be in a game if you're the person who's making people respond rather than having to run your units around their units kind of thing.
And Roadrunner hitting on some walls, but Mel already ready for it, had houses pre-placed.
Yep, yeah, she's got both. I was worried that they were going to break in there regardless, but are they going to run around the middle? No, they thought, oh, because it's walled. Yeah. Perfect. He's definitely thought better of it.
Third TC from Mel as well.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, just like the textbook Frank's playbook, right? Like the pike defense against the camels, it's not really turned into offense at this point. It's just defense because the knights couldn't really do much, and the TC additions have been quick, and they've really gained a really substantial Vil lead already.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely the right call, especially all those extra heavy plow farms that are coming up.
It's just such a smooth eco.
It's one of the best bonuses in the game. Yeah. It's just such a streamlined civ.
I think if we are committing to the pikeman, I maybe wouldn't mind seeing another barracks added in. I mean, she's got a lot, but I mean, we've still got at least one stable working for Roadrunner.
Yeah. So his thing with the 3 stable opening is it's made his ability to add economy behind it very tough, and you can see that in his eco numbers now.
Oh, and Mel deciding to go triple stable herself now, but the difference being she's got eco behind it.
Yes, yeah, she's got a lot of farms, almost 30 farms now.
Yeah.
Not just missing wheelbarrow, but that's still a lot of farms. And Roadrunner going onto stone there. Is he going to try and get map control maybe and put a castle?
Maybe. I mean, that could be him thinking his way back into it.
Yeah, at this point, it's hard to tell. It's one of those things that's hard to tell in the game because you've got 300 score lead, which is pretty much from KD, I guess. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Score is a mysterious thing. This game is a great example of why you should never read into score too much. Even if you're like 800 points behind, like you could be exactly equal footing because Mel is really substantially ahead here, 20 Vils, but at this point that's about like 50% more economy almost.
See, Mel notices the knights and camels coming in. Pikemen a bit out of position, out in the middle of the map, not where they need to be to defend.
And they're coming back now. Might be a little bit too late, but you can lose a Vil here or there when you've got a lead like this. Yeah,
and again, it's camels. There are some knights mixed in, so they are more threatening towards the TC, but camels really do die pretty quick. And we're still only +1 armor, +2 only just click.
It's also worth noting that they only do 6 base damage. I'm not sure what damage that translates to after TC armor, but it's not a lot.
No.
They are not good at taking down buildings at all. And he's losing a lot there for not really a whole lot of damage, and I disagree with the choice to go back.
He's run around a little bit, he's like...
And he might run into the pikes here.
And
that is...
what a...
Oh, the pike's not quite engaging as he'd want, but that was quite a lot of pokes there.
Yeah. I mean, it's the kind of fight where you look away for a second and suddenly your cab are gone. Just
like earlier, like you said, with the scouts. You look away and they disappear.
Okay, here come the Vils.
But here's the thing, I'm not sure. Oh, that is
it's
aggressive, and I don't think he has the map presence to do this.
Mel sees the Vils coming forward.
His units are directly countered by Mel's, and Mel's just added more stables as well, so I'm not sure.
Mel's struggling on the farm account. I think he's had a little bit of panic with the Vils coming in.
Does the castle get one shot by the TC as well? No, it doesn't. We've missed that opportunity, but I'd be impressed if this castle went out.
I mean, but if it does, I mean, it's a really good castle.
Yeah, it zones out that main goal, takes a few farms with it. But the military coming out now.
Castle. Okay.
Mel's moved on to double barracks, like you said earlier, which is a really nice touch. But I'm not sure it's going to be enough to deny this.
No, I think the castle goes up.
And this,
I mean, the military production for Roadrunner has been really good in the last little bit.
This is the way that he gets back into the game, I think, after the TC additions from Mel.
I mean, so you see this castle go up. What's your response from Mel? Like, do you try and get on stone for your own castle? Do you just go forward, try and kill Vils?
If it were me, I think I would remember that I've got the golds in the back, and you can. It's only a few farms, and if you can get the Vils out, okay. I would definitely just move my economy to the back and maybe stonewall up a bit so units can't just flood in from where that castle is. But a lot of these units are going down into the TC still. Amela's going to take the stone right next to the castle, but she's defending with pikes, so it's okay. But what I worry about now is the fletching coming in and maybe the potential of Mangadai, because that is not a unit that Franks agree with.
Mangadai, very scary unit. And there we see the production come out.
Yep. The question is now, does Mel trust her own eco enough, basically, to the point where she feels confident enough to start spamming her knights, even though it's probably not a great trade, spamming her own knights against Mangadai just to stop that mass developing, because once the mass comes up, it's going to be very tough for Mel to stop.
Okay, it looks like Mel has found her secondary golds.
Yes.
So she's been able to use them. And it's just trying to stabilize yourself a little bit.
Yes.
I think it's one of those things where you're panicking. There's a lot going on. There's a castle right in your face. But if she can just take a minute, just try and slow down the thought process, stop the panicking a little bit.
Agreed.
Try and see how she can respond to this. Then she's still got a really good eco.
It's been a good theme and a good learning point of this set, I think, actually, is just how valuable the ability to, like you say, just chill out a little bit, think about the game objectively, reduce the panic, and just see what you can actually do in the point you're in. And this is going to be a real testing point for Mel to see if she can do that, because you've got a castle right in your face, there's knights running around your base.
Yeah,
but
I mean, really nice move from roadrunner to run in.
Yeah. You're not in a terrible position because you've got a really nice lead, but can you think about that logically in the game is a different matter, and those knights are getting cleaned up now.
Yeah. I mean, roadrunner 36 Vil kills.
Yes, that is hefty, and that Vil lead that Mel had earlier, that 24 lead, has dissolved a little bit now, and that is going to be a really ruthless castle now from Roadrunner, and he has the military to back it up. Yeah.
It's going to be tough. I mean,
and there's a lot of Vils being sent forward as well. He's not taking any chances with this, and I think he can sense, blood in the water a little bit here. He knows that if this castle goes up, it's going to be a killer, because it's right on that second TC. It's on the second, the main stone, and it opens up a really nice avenue into the back of Mel's base there. And Mel did a really nice job at expanding it into the middle there. That's fantastic.
I mean, maybe Mel building up the stone. Do we see her decide, you know what? You built a castle in my face. Why don't you have one in your face?
Build one in yours.
Yeah.
And I would love to see that as well. Maybe not tactically. I don't know if it's the right decision, but for the spectator point of view, I would love to see it.
It would be great to watch.
I would be interested to know where Mel's second stone is, because that main stone is obviously not available now.
So she's taking a neutral stone out
in the middle, so that's a great find. First of all, that's great scouting. But second of all, getting onto that is going to be really important, because Mel can afford a castle now, but I think there's knights there now. Earlier we tried to take out that TC, but there was a lot of camels and it wasn't going to work. No. But now there's enough.
The pikemen coming, but there's Mangadai behind.
Yep, and the castle's in range as well, so depends how much attention Roadrunner's able to pay here, and he does. He draws them back, and these pikemen are going to get shredded.
And I'm really struggling to see what Mel can do at this point.
Yeah, it feels like it's getting a little bit out of control now. It's like the classic Age of Empires snowball situation where you've taken a misstep and it's gone downhill quite drastically. And it probably for Mel, probably felt like there wasn't a whole lot she could do once that first castle went up.
It's just a slight like undercommitted to the army when that castle was coming forward. There's just a little bit more army. We're in a different game, but yeah, I mean, she's still playing on.
Yep. And there's a lot of damage going on in the back of her base, but I've really got to give
the castle.
credit.
There's the castle.
Oh, there is the castle. That is definitely a castle indeed. Right in front of the stables. Mel does not care. She knows what she's going to do to get back into this game. And she sends in the barn, whilst her own base is getting pretty cleaned out in the back there.
Yeah, I mean, MangoMel are just an insane unit.
It's a very scary unit.
Yeah.
And it's, first of all, a unit that's exceptionally hard to deal with any civ, let alone a fairly like slowish cav base civ like Frank's. Because MangoMel will just run circles around you.
And so the castle goes up forward.
Yeah, that is...
but how much does it actually throw? It's just farms there.
Yeah, well, this is the kind of castle that would be fantastic if you had a good amount of knights to follow up with, because you can break in through here and you can just sweep up all the villas in the middle there, that woodline, that gold, the farms. But the lack of military behind it, I question how much damage that's really going to do, that castle.
Getting fletching for the castle now as well. But she's just losing vill after vill at home.
Yeah, it's hemorrhaging vills all over the place in her base now, and the TC even isn't really offering much salvation in the middle of those farms. And
GG, well played.
Mel's going to throw in the towel. Really good final game there.
I mean, an amazing set. I mean, both games back and forth.
Fantastic.
All 3 games.
I've really got to commend Roadrunner here on knowing what his win condition was in that final game. He could sense he was not in a good spot. He was going camels into pikemen, and it was like, there's one thing I've got to do here, and that is a forward castle into MangoMel, and he executed it really well. Yeah. And it seemed like not quite an unusable situation for Mel, but definitely a winning position. Yeah. And Roadrunner completely turned it on its head, and it was a really, really impressive decision. Yeah.
I mean, that set was incredible. That's what I really don't know what else to say.
See on the screen now that I'm like, it's like all the way over here because I was staring at the game so intently. Take a step back. But that was a really sensational set. Really action on both sides. There was counter-attacks. There was a lot of forward castles. Yes. The only game there wasn't a forward castle was the game where there was no stone on the map. So
maybe predictable, but
I think Roadrunner has a habit actually. Now I'm thinking about it. Forward castle into overpowered range unit. No, really, really well played, and that timeline is. This is like I said earlier, like the snowballness of the game. Like that timeline just. I mean, it changed.
So good for Mel, and then there's just a
completely dropped off.
Yeah. 100.
I need to know what he's 150 peak APM. I need to know what he's doing in the games to get that number. That is ridiculous.
You say that you can't really say. I've seen a 2-hour tunnel game where you've had an average APM of over 100. So
nah, surely not. It's not the amount of clicks though. It's what you do with them, and
of course. And he used them well.
Yeah, he did use them very well. But I want to know what part of the game that 150 APM was. Because it definitely wasn't the moment where he looked back in Mel's base and all the scouts were dead. I'll tell you that much.
Okay, I think now we're going to head over to an interview. Walt's going to interview the winner of this set. So congratulations, Roadrunner.
Yeah, congratulations, Roadrunner. A really fantastic set. Great to watch.
Yeah, there we go. Congratulations, Roadrunner. Very, very stressful, I would say, to watch. I can't imagine how it was to play, but it must have been a pretty exhausting one.
I had to get napkins out and blow my nose, and especially that second game. Like, what's all that about? Who makes barracks units? You know?
Well, I've got to say, I was very surprised to see MangoMel, who, scouts, knights, and send it is her mantra. It seems that longswords and send it is maybe the new order of the day.
Because I'm a big MangoMel stream fan. I know she loves knights, and I was like, I just hope I can do knights better.
Yeah.
And then obviously, like, Berbers were banned or sniped, I think. Oh no, Mel took Berbers from me.
Mel took the Berbers and then you sniped them. Yeah.
But yeah, it was terrifying, to be honest.
Yes.
What do I even do? I can make archers, but I can't micro archers, so what's the point?
Yeah.
So it's like, and then luckily I remembered from the map, from the earlier sets, that you could kind of go to the edges.
Yeah.
I was like, right, let's look for res, and then she found me.
Yep.
Which is not nice. Yeah, gosh.
It's amazing. But let's talk about the games you did win, because you won the set, of course, 2-1. Hideout was game number 1. Now, I don't know. It looked like maybe it was a little bit of nerves from both of you at the start there, because both of you were going for this castle drop style, but you ended up running a marathon around the entire side of her base, dropping it right at the back.
So what typically happens is I will match a castle with somebody else. They'll go to him, they'll trap it down, and I have no ideas.
Yeah. Well, it looks like that's where the game was heading.
I've never played Spanish on Hideout.
Okay, wow, okay.
So I'm not sure what made me pick Spanish. One thing that was really good was at the beginning, I think I denied the deer.
Yes, you denied the deer, yeah.
And I thought, this is... Somebody said to me, or might have been from the cast, when you castle drop, don't castle drop the stone. I think the stone was where Mel had her castle, and I dropped it in the gold, I think. I don't know why I did it, but it helped.
Yeah.
Because the obvious place was just put it right where the stone is, and you think that's the... Yeah, so that's why I took all the villages around and thought, well, let's try this.
Yeah.
And it was dicey.
It was very dicey, it was.
I thought I'd, messed it up, but...
No, you pulled through, and then game number 2, of course, chaotic, very intense. And then game number 3, chaotic and intense as well. But you did really, really well, I think, in the feudal age with your scouts. Obviously, we saw a bit of the chatter between you during the game. But you did get some good vill picks with those scouts.
Yeah, I usually make 3 or 4 scouts and then try and go to Castle Age, and usually I die because I have not made any army. And the guys over there have said, just make sure you make units.
Okay.
Don't just give up after 3 or 4 scouts. But I kept losing them. There was one point I had 5. I know they weren't full HP, but they just disappeared. And that's when I said, I was like, where are they?
Yeah.
I had them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, again, like, Knights are probably both our favourite units.
Yeah.
I just tried my best to make more.
Yes.
Well,
yeah, the 3 stable camels was really nice. And then it was a moment of inspiration to drop the castle. I think you were heading for a defeat. Without that, the eco's numbers were really kind of climbing up for Mel.
Were they?
Yeah, she was kind of 20 vills ahead or so, and then suddenly it was equal because of the castle drop.
I kind of laughed to myself because I thought, I'm sending knights and camels straight into pikes.
Yeah,
and yeah, I'm a true believer in VC pikes, just send more knights. That's it. So that was that. But I was fully expecting castles from Mel because it's ranks. So if I can get one ahead, then the pressure's on.
Yeah, you got there first. And Mangodai, Franks struggle really difficult time against Mangodai, so.
Yeah, I don't make Mangodai often. And 3 of them were so powerful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was really good fun. Honestly, I learned a lot.
Oh, great. Well, good. That's the whole point of the tournament.
There's civs here that I've never picked or really played on purpose. So it was really good fun. So thanks again for arranging it.
No, my pleasure. Really, really, really entertaining set. Thank you. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Okay. And that's the end of the training grounds action for the day. And yeah, I'm not sure. We're half an hour ahead of schedule. Okay, so dodgeball tournament coming up next. So yeah, thanks everyone for supporting the stream, and then yeah, see you later.